just stop. Here's Ross, the host with today's dose of common sense.
Hey everybody, how are you? Welcome back. I was gone for over a week because I had COVID. So I'm just now feeling better. I was like, I've got all this time. I have to be home for a week and like quarantine and stuff. So I could do a bunch of podcasts, but it also messed up my throat. I could barely talk. So it was kind of a waste. So I was like, well, now I'll just sit around and binge Netflix, I guess, and slept a lot and felt like crap. I'm still not 100% good, but I'm no longer testing positive, so I'm getting back into normal activity. So if I have to clear my throat or have a cup of coffee from my Christian Nightmares mug, like that. If you don't know what that is, look that up. And you can go follow them on X and different things. They have a Substack anyway. It's very interesting stuff. They track a bunch of religious extremists. So, fascinating stuff. But if you can read the title of this podcast, this episode, this video, if you're going to be watching it on YouTube, this is highly sensitive, breaking news. This is going to be stuff that you have never heard before. And it comes about because I keep hearing about this thing on other podcasts like Jesse Michaels and Julian Dory and even on Joe Rogan and different things like that, especially when it comes to discussing the UFO topic or the UAP topic, if that's what you want to call it these days. I still prefer UFO because that's cooler. But not everybody agrees with me. So, and that is, they have this thing where they keep saying that, oh, these people who were involved in this were in the PRP, the Personnel Reliability Program, and that somehow gives them more, reliability when it comes to them telling you a story or things like that. They get more credence because of this or because of that. And they were in the Personnel Reliability Program. It's a very strict program. Only the top of the people can get into it and all this other stuff. They keep talking about it in that way. And I listened to another Jesse Michaels podcast, his latest one this morning, and he did it again. He mentioned the PRP, the Personnel Reliability Program, in such a way to try and indicate that means that person is somehow superior to other normal people who may have had some sort of a run-in with something. So I'm gonna break my silence after 40 years, and I'm going to tell you about the PRP. Yes, I am, the Personnel Reliability Program. For your information also, I'm what they would call an experiencer. I have seen things in the skies that are not normal. They are anomalous. And no one wants to talk to me about my stuff. But they're going to interview every Tom, Dick, and Harry who says, I saw an orb in the sky from 40 miles away. It was a magnificent thing. And we called it in with my psychic abilities. But no, I've actually seen things, like physical things. They weren't imaginary. And probably can't talk about them because it's probably classified. Maybe that's why nobody wants to talk to me about it. But we're going to break open the Personnel Reliability Program today. So first I'm going to show you what that did. Well, first, I guess I'm going to change gears here. I'm going to go to the screen share thing. And look at this. This will tell you what it is, the Personnel Reliability Program. It uses DA Form 4515. And that's the PRP record identifier. And if you want to read this AI-generated gobbledygook, you go right ahead. But it is accurate. It looks like it took its information directly from a military website and Army regulations, so that's okay. But the highlighted portion, I'll just read that real quick for those who are just listening. A mandatory Army form, because the DA form is the Department of the Army form. Other, branches are going to have their own form, but this is the Army form, DA form 4515. A mandatory Army form used to track soldiers assigned to positions requiring access to nuclear, biological, or chemical weapons ensuring they meet strict medical, psychological, and security standards for trustworthiness. And that sounds pretty impressive. And I'm going to show you what they do for you whenever you wind up in this PRP program. And to do that, I have to turn off one of these lights. So bear with me, because with the light on it, it washes it out and you can't see it. So turn that light off, and this is what you get. This is the sum total of what this gets you being in the PRP. And you can see this one's a little dog-eared. I took fairly good care of my records over the decades. But you can see down here, this is DA form 4515. This is the version from August of 86. So anyway, that's why the title of the thing is Breaking My Silence After 40 Years. So it's a record identifier, and they put it in there, and it keeps going out of focus for those of you watching. But nuclear or chemical surety, and it's for healthcare providers. And you'll notice this boxed in part says, this individual functions at a nuclear or chemical duty position. Circle 1. Well, my stellar medical personnel, when they put this in my folder, didn't bother to circle 1. So it's a secret. It was so classified, they couldn't do it. But anyway, that's what you get. And that goes on the cover of your medical records. Actually, it goes under the flap. It wasn't. Anyway, it's basically it's a form of monitoring for you. Okay. So what it says underneath at the bottom of this thing, which is the old DA form 4515, I'm sure they've updated this since then. I could not find, which is very strange. I tried to find, let's go back to the screen share, because up here at the top, I punched in the form number, and when you go to images, there isn't one. You can't find one. There's a whole bunch of PDFs and stuff like that for other things, and there's a bunch of regulations and things that mention the DA 4515, but there isn't an image of an actual 4515 on the internet, apparently, or at least on the Googles. I have no idea why that is, but it kind of freaks me out. So anyhow, now down here it says, if any of the following conditions are noted or suspected during treatment, they must be reported at once to the individual's commander. Specific guidance and further details may be obtained from AR 50-5 for nuclear or AR 50-6 for chemical. Number 1, alcohol abuse. Number 2, drug abuse. Number 3, negligence or delinquency in performance of duty. So pretty much just being a lazy shitbag can get you in trouble. Pattern of behavior or actions indicative of a contemptuous attitude toward the law or duly constituted authority. So basically, if you're walking around saying, fuck Trump, or I hate Obama, or, things like that, or communism isn't that bad, that could all be kind of like considered the same thing. Any physical or mental condition that may impair judgment or reliability. Wow, that could be just about anything. That could be ADD. That could be a broken leg or a concussion or all sorts of things. Number 6, poor attitude or lack of motivation. Are you one of those? Are you one of those unmotivated troops where they have to drag you out of bed and take you to PT every day, and somebody's got to look over your shoulder all the time to make sure you're not shamming or sleeping on top of a wall locker somewhere? Well, guess what? This program is not for you. Use of prescribed medication, short-term stress, or physical condition/injury that temporarily impairs the ability to perform duties. So, that's what that is for. And it's just an alert page that says this person works in this critical field, and if there's anything wrong with them, we kind of need to know, because we don't want the guy who's currently having an emotional breakdown working next to the nuclear warheads or working on the nuclear submarine or anything like that, right? So it's a very simple thing. It's not it's not anything special. You don't, there's no strict criteria for, passing a selection for this program where only the best of the best of the best can pass and all these other things. And no, it's not like that at all. It's, they put you in a job, and a part of that job is being in the PRP. It isn't, oh, you got selected to, because you're so cool that you got selected to be in the PRP. So now we're going to assign you to this super cool job. Now, they assigned you to the job, and if the PRP was, if that job had to do with PRP stuff, then you were placed in the PRP program. It wasn't something that you actually did. There was no testing. There was nothing. And excuse me, if you read through the regulations and stuff, it's going to tell you that there was frequent reevaluation and all this. That shit never happened. It never happened. Okay. I was a member of the PRP, or I was involved in the PRP for 3 years back on my first assignment in the military, after graduating military police school and being Billy Badass. And I wanted to go out and jump out of airplanes and, use my billy club on out of control soldiers in the EM club and, stuff like that, or maybe do some counter narcotic stuff and work my way up into CID, and be a Mr. Federal Agent guy. But no, what they do is they say, you already fit all the criteria. You got your clearance and your background and everything's clear, so we're going to stick you somewhere where you can never escape. And that's what they did to me. And so I wound up in a PRP environment. But it wasn't that I was granted PRP status and then they assigned me to this thing. They needed a military policeman in this duty at this station. And as a part of that, you were labeled as PRP. And then if you have any, problems that would interfere with your ability to perform those super secret functions, well, somebody was supposed to say something. Most of the time, they did not, because the people who held those jobs were hard to find, basically. So it had to be something fairly extreme for you to get kicked out of it. And I don't mean that flippantly either. I mean, we had people who were alcoholics. We had people who would pop for drugs. We had serial adulterers, which, is a crime in the military. People getting busted for DUIs. We had behavioral problems. We had people getting Article 15s and a court martial here and there, just like any other unit in the military. And that's supposed to be serious. It's a serious offense. Like say you get an Article 15 for, you keep showing up late to formation or whatever. And that would be part of this whole, delinquency and negligence and performance of duty, lack of motivation, those types of things. And so if you get an Article 15 for that, guess what? They never took you out of the PRP. They never took you away from your job. They just take your money and bust you down a stripe or something. There wasn't any real consequences to that. The worst consequences you could face for violating something or, getting kicked out of the PRP is that you would get to go have a regular job and you didn't have to do this bullshit job that you got stuck in. Because believe me, the job that I was doing, nobody signed up for that. As a matter of fact, the year before the assignment that I was in was an infantry job. And they decided, well, this is this is kind of fitting for the military police to do. So we're going to transfer this over from an infantry responsibility to a military police responsibility. And I came in right on the heels of that. That was fun. So we still had some grunts, some 11 Bravos and stuff around who were, they had been around long enough that they were getting ready to retire and stuff. So they didn't bother shipping them off to another unit when they transferred it over. So we still had a few, infantry guys around, handful. And the rest of us were MPs doing this job. And so, I mean, that was the worst that could happen to you is, you're no longer qualified under the PRP. So now you get to go back to being a regular line MP. You get to go, pick up people for DUIs and break up domestic disputes and things like that, because believe it or not, in the military, it's a microcosm of our society. We had every crime that existed out in the civilian world in the military community. Some of them horrible crimes. And I had the benefit of quarterly, I would go up and spend a couple of weeks working the road and doing regular military police stuff. And sometimes we didn't get to, things would be too crazy or whatever, but as often as I could, I did that to, stay trained up on regular military police line duties, because I expected once I was done with this, I would go back to something like that. But it's really just a babysitting sheet that goes on your record, and they just watch you, and they're like, is this person crazy? Is this person losing his mind? Is he having a mental breakdown? Is this divorce that he's going through making him suicidal? Is he homicidal? Boy, I could tell you some stories. I don't think I'm going to. Maybe I'll tell you one. I will tell you I did something once. I had a bit of a reputation, but I almost shot someone once. Not on accident, on purpose. And this was during peacetime, y'all. And I would have been legally justified in doing it. But it was the fact that I was willing to do it, I think, is what gave everyone pause, including my commander. And so the only thing that happened to me, they considered that is this guy might be a little unstable. He's stressed out or something. Something's wrong with this guy that he was so willing to, follow the letter of the law. So, what they did, though? I wasn't taken out of the PRP. They told me to go on leave. They sent me home on leave. It was the one time I came home from overseas and went back and visited family and stuff, because I loved it over there. I was having a great time. They forced me to go home. So I was sent home for like 3 weeks to take leave and relax a little bit, which led to another story, because I had tickets for Pan Am 103. Whole other story. But I had to change my flight and wound up not being on that plane. I wound up flying in Pan Am 103, but a couple of weeks before it blew up in the sky. So anyway, a whole different area of discussion. But that's what the PRP is. And I'm really getting tired of listening to people talking. They're like, oh my God, these are special people. These are the most ethical and most reliable people that they could find. And blah, 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 blah. No, they're not. They're just people who had this form on the top of their medical record that said, if this guy's getting stupid out there and you can't trust him, you got to let your commander know, or let this commander know, so that they can take him away from this job, because we don't want crazy people working around the nukes. That's it. And there was nothing. You never really heard about it. Other than every time you had to go on, a sick call or go to something medical, you had your medical records there, and you would open it up and there would be this form. That's all. I mean, nothing was ever brought up. Nobody ever mentioned anything. None of the doctors or any of those people, brought it up. Everything was just kind of ignored. They're like, oh, he's in the PRP, whatever. So I did have to sign a couple of NDAs in that job, probably more than a couple. I don't remember exactly. I do know that I've never been released from them. So there are some things that I can't talk about, but it has nothing to do with the PRP. And it has nothing to do with national security either, because the things that I dealt with firsthand no longer exist. It's no longer something that's in our arsenal. So anyway, but until someone with the authority to do so declassifies that and notifies me in writing that it has been declassified and it's okay for me to talk about it now, I'm not allowed to talk about it. The end, period. So anytime you hear somebody talking online, or they're on a podcast, and they're like, oh, my NDA expired. And no, government NDAs don't work like that. I'm sorry. If it's classified and you are sworn to secrecy until someone tells you it's no longer a secret, you're not allowed to talk about it, unless you want to become a whistleblower, just like I'm doing right now. I'm blowing the whistle on a PRP. Anyhow, if you're going to go out in public and say, I'm going to blow the whistle on this secret program about UFOs, you already violated whatever NDA you signed. So because you're not supposed to talk about it, that doesn't mean, oh, you can talk about you worked with a UAP program, but you just can't give anybody details. No, that's not how it works. If you're out there in public in front of Congress and on TV getting interviewed by some Australian guy, and you say, I have direct knowledge that involves an unidentified anomalous phenomenon or UFOs and alien bodies, you already violated your NDA. So when you say, I'm sorry, I can't talk about that unless we're in a skiff, you're lying. Because you already violated the NDA. So there's nothing stopping you. You're already in trouble. So if you can't get in more trouble. You've already violated the NDA. So if you come out and say, yes, and I saw that alien body at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in a hermetically sealed container that looked like embalming fluid floating. The thing was floating in this viscous fluid. That's no different than saying, I am fully aware that there were alien bodies somewhere. I just can't tell you where I saw them because that would be classified. No, the whole thing is classified. So all these people like Grush and Elizondo and all the other ones who say, oh, I can tell you this much. I can't tell you any more without being in a skiff. They're full of shit because you already violated the NDA if you had one, if you signed one. And so it doesn't matter. I can tell you part of it, but not the whole story because I'm bound by the law. No, you already broke the law. So you might as well just say it. The problem is they don't because they don't know it. They're just still speculating and telling people stories that they heard from someone else. That's just like what was going on today with the Virginia or whatever it is thing with James Fox today. It was the same stuff. And it irritates me. People just speculating, and then people will put it up on the internet and say, breaking, oh, they're blowing the lid off of this incident. Or no, they're not. They're saying things that they made up, and they're just using speculation and saying, well, if it did happen, it would have been like this or like that. That has no relevance to any of it. But, so anyhow, that's what the PRP is. So when people are telling you, oh, this person was in the PRP, so we can rely on what they said. No, that's stupid because that person didn't go through any extra vetting. They didn't go through any deeper background check than anybody else. They didn't do anything. All they did was they were able to get a clearance and they stuck them in a job that required them to be in the PRP. That's it. That's all. And so they were in the PRP. And in the time that I was in the PRP, I never saw anyone kicked out of the PRP. And I saw people doing some pretty serious stuff. And I busted people for doing some pretty serious stuff. None of them got kicked out of the PRP. They just got in trouble. That was it. I didn't get kicked out of the PRP. And I probably should have been based on my conduct that happened there. And it's a long story. I'm not going to tell the whole story. But yeah, that's what it is. So stop talking about it like they're super secret spy programs or something. They're not. It's just these people work around nuclear and chemical weapons, and we need to make sure that they're not crazy. So if he starts acting crazy when he's up here getting his dental stuff done, or if he's up here getting checked out for that pneumonia he's got, then you got to tell somebody. You have to tell the commander. And they encourage you to rat each other out too, but nobody ever does. And like I said, the time that I was there, I never saw anybody removed from the program. And they were no different than any other GIs. They went out, they got in bar fights, they went out and got drunk, got in trouble, got DUIs. They did everything that every other soldier did. We were in a different circumstance because we were at a remote site. So we were kind of far away from the regular Army, and we weren't outside of the jurisdiction of the regular Army, but we were going to encounter local law enforcement before we did military policemen who are on patrol and stuff like that. So a lot of the times they got away with stuff too, because some things that were illegal under military law are not illegal under German law. So if the German police were the first ones on the scene, they would just go, oh, that's fine, okay, and go away. Whereas if the MPs were the first ones there, you'd be sitting in a detention cell waiting to get court-martialed or whatever. So so that was always interesting to go on ride-alongs with the German police, which I did a few times. So that's all it is. And I'm sorry to break it to everyone that it's not exciting. It's nothing that makes anyone more believable when they're talking about aliens and UFOs. It simply does not. There were crazy fucking people in there just like everywhere else. And if not, working there would make you crazy because nobody signed up for that shit. Nobody. Well, okay, some of those chemical weapons guys, the chem bio guys, which back in that time, the military police school was at Fort McClellan, which is the same place where the chemical school was. So all the military police and the chemical school guys all went to schools, on the same post. And we didn't really interact with them that much, but that's where they were. But we, did field exercises in the same, woods and did all that and marched on the same ground. And Fort McClellan is now a super site for toxic waste. And yeah, it's ugly. So anybody who was there got exposed to a lot of crazy stuff, even if you were not in the chemical corps. So there you have it. And if you have any questions, you can go ahead and ask me. I'll tell you, because it's not classified. It's not a secret. So, but I have never heard anyone explain it adequately. Just saying, oh, these are super reliable people who have to pass, stringent, rigorous evaluation and all that other stuff. And it's all bullshit. That's not true at all. So if you have a question about it, let me know. If you want more information about it, you want me to tell you some more stories, go ahead and let me know. But that's all it is. So Jesse Michaels, stop telling people that this dude was into PRP and these are the top of the line. These are the no, they're not. They're just regular soldiers who got stuck in a shit job, and they had to get this form on their medical records. That's it. Nothing else happened. Other things happened, but it had nothing to do with the PRP. So good luck to everybody. Keep your powder dry. Keep your head on a swivel. Shit's getting crazy out there. Crazier than it already was. So I'm not even kidding. Keep your eyes open. The world is getting crazier by the minute. And you never know what can happen. So be safe and take care of your families and all that stuff. And I will talk to you again soon.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Really? Just Stop with your host, Ross. Make sure to like and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so that you never miss a dose of some common sense.